I'll call to order the March 30th Occupancy Tax Committee meeting. I have a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Ron, Jean, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Any additions, subtractions, corrections? Okay. Doug.
You. Me?
Doug. Yes. Why don't you go to the podium, the lectern or whatever, and introduce the other members of the coalition that are here.
There's no mic here, but I can talk. Okay, from the coalition, we have Clay Ashworth. Let's see. We have Jack Walter. Jack was recently hired to kind of run the show for us, and he's doing a great job for us. Some of you got to meet him. He gets around town pretty well, and so we're pleased certainly with that.
Is that the 75-year-old?
No, he's 25.
I just had a hard life.
And who else am I?
Ben.
Oh, Ben Pratt. Ben Pratt. So,
Okay, you want to tell us, or do you want to leave it up to the other gentleman to tell us what's going on with the coalition and the Civic Center?
If I may, just to start
Sure.
briefly, and then Jack will provide the information he has. The first thing I want to do today is ask for mercy. As you may know, let me just bring you up to date. I'm counsel for the coalition, and basically what's happened over the last month is that we have gone from having Global operating the center and having Jeremy be our main contact to operating the center ourselves, officially starting on April 1st. We've reached an agreement with Global to have them leave and have the coalition begin to operate the center itself. At the same time, as a result of that, the main contact we had with Global at the center, who was giving us all the information, Jeremy, had a week or so ago, 10 days ago, has gone to St. Louis, which is his newest gig for Global Spectrum. So, and as you know, we were working with Brian Petrovic for a long time to try to have him work with us in terms of understanding the operation of the center. Brian, as you know, is the president of the Flames locally. And for a variety of different reasons, all of which were positive for both organizations, we were unable to continue with Brian. So that now, in the last 10 days or so, Jack Walter has agreed to come on board and help us with our organization. And obviously, he's just getting his arms around the operation. And therefore, as a result of all of the transition, we don't have a lot of information for you today in terms of the detail that you'd like. But if I may, can I hand something out? Is
Sure,
that okay?
sure, yes.
What I'd like to give you, these are a list of the events in January, February, and March that we had at the center. And as you know, we lost a couple days of Section 2 championships with respect to the falling bricks. But these are the events that we had and the information that we have about those events for the first quarter of 2015. And Liz Mahoney, my partner, who you know has been to the previous meeting, she's a member of the board as well, of the coalition board, had surgery last week, so we've not had, and she's doing well, but we've not had her availability this week either. So as a result, we have general information as you have in front of you, but that's about it. And you can see in the right-hand column, the events we had were Disney, Foothills Basketball, Section 2 Wrestling, New York State Basketball, and hockey games. And you can see the summary of what we did and and the dollar costs. I don't have any details today with respect to breaking those costs down, and that's what I mean by asking for mercy. And Jack, whom I'm going to let speak in just a second, is going to talk to you about the future. He's got the events scheduled for the next quarter. Actually, it goes even beyond the next quarter. But again, it doesn't have the dollars and cents information that you're going to need. And what I would ask, if I could, is that at your next meeting, we present any information for the last quarter that you need in addition to what we've given you today. And then we'll have, hopefully by then, Jack will have his arms around everything. We will have had a better opportunity to look at the books. Dan Burke will be back, and we'll have a specific bunch of information for you that will assist you.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. It's been, we've been, as you know, since, this organization didn't exist before November of 2014, and we've been on the ground running, and our volunteers are working very hard, but we've still got things to learn. Do you have any questions about the sheet that I just handed out? I know it's very general, and I may be able or may not be able to answer them. Yes, Dennis?
Ben, these are the costs to the Civic Center to hold these events?
Yes.
So we don't have any income?
That's right. That's the total costs. We do not have the income from those events right now.
Well, that's a step in the right direction. First good one was getting rid of Global, and I'll say that publicly.
Yeah, and we think Global has done a good job for what they did. We think there was a lot more that they could have done that they didn't do. And they have been reasonable about the separation. And I think that's going to work pretty well. I mean, we're going to pay them some money because they really are entitled to stay there until next April. So we're going to have to pay them some money to go away, but we're going to pay less than half of what we would have paid them had they stayed. Okay. Any other?
Rachel?
Yes, Rachel. Hi, Rachel.
At your last meeting, we brought up the idea about a college intern.
Yes.
Since that time, I've spoken with President Duffy over at the college regarding a possible intern for not only county issues, but also as it relates to the Civic Center. I took a call from Nick Camano last week regarding that, and I'm just wondering, it sounds like you've got more work in front of you than what you guys can handle. Perhaps an intern or two for credit, a non-paid intern, would be something that would be incredibly helpful in determining these numbers so we can meet both our needs and yours.
And the answer to that is absolutely yes. We spoke at the last board meeting, which was last Tuesday. We actually spoke about that, and the board was in favor of it, and we're going to be contacting the college to work that out. Do you want us to work through you?
I just have contact information.
Yeah, great.
To streamline the process.
Wonderful.
With a
Wonderful.
credit internship program.
Wonderful, because the board was fully in support of doing that, and obviously the more help we can get, the better.
John?
And just
John, yeah.
FYI, hi Ben. ARCC's coordinating their internship with SUNY Adirondack, so that too, you
Yes.
might want to get them
Yeah,
involved.
okay, good. Good.
Jim?
I was on the county council, so I know
I know.
a bit about that. One thing that concerns me a little bit is we always made sure that we kept certain figures confidential because SMG down in Albany is competing with us to get events in. If they know what the costs are and what the revenue is, they can then scale their, bids to whatever. So I don't know how, obviously you don't want the board not to know what's going on, but we have to be careful about letting SMG in that, so.
Okay.
We need to, if you bring revenue in, you may have to go, I don't know if that, I know these guys are gonna be shooting darts at me, but you might have to be, for competitive reasons.
Yeah, and I think we could, and we'll look about this. I hadn't thought about that, Jim, but we'll look at it. If it is confidential, trade secret kind of information, then it would not be foilable, and we might be able to do it in some confidential way. But obviously, you guys have to know everything that we know about the operation of the place, and you know, the public's right to know is the public's right to know.
Right, certain revenue things too, though, can,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know the law, but, SMG can, you know what we're bidding, basically.
Right.
And we have to be careful that way.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions for me?
No.
Jack, you wanna, this is Jack Walter, our new hire. I met him 3 minutes ago, so.
Good morning. I'm gonna pass out, these are the events as they're coming up, to give you a view of what we've got scheduled. It states if it's confirmed or it's in flux.
Thank you.
Is that 2 or 1?
Just what? Thank you.
You wanna see it too, right now?
Thank you.
Yeah, and Jim.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, here. I got one left.
Great, thank you.
All right, there you go.
And the music.
Everybody get a chance to look through the events? Go ahead, Brad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, just a quick perusal. It seems to show that, state the obvious, that weekends are your premium rental days and nights. And the balance of the week is available. That's the way to say it. That's the word that's used here, available. And to me, it really points out the challenge to the business plan, really, which is that you have so many premium days, nights of rental, so many rental hours, so many rental days of premium time against a business plan that has a proposed expenditure of X. And I think as we go forward, I think what I'm going to be particularly interested in seeing is how you grapple with that, how you come to terms with that in terms of having a business plan that is, to the degree possible, self-sufficient. Are you kind of following me here? I mean,
Yes.
It's not dissimilar to, say, the hotel business. You have so many occupancy nights against your expenditure plan, and this brings me to the question of during the week. It would seem to me that part of the key would be to lessen your overall expenses at the times that you're not operational, and maximizing to the degree possible your revenue streams, whatever they might be. Some of them may be contractually obligated, some of them may be shared. I'm not sure, but I think as we go forward, that's the kind of thing that I'm going to be interested in hearing from you, if not in the specific details, at least into the general direction.
There's a plan in place to put a plan in place. And I've just spent the last 200+ hours in the last 2 weeks after Dan enlisted me into this position at the Civic Center, dealing with all the different disciplines that we have to face. One of the problems with Civic Centers is that they're hybrid type organizations, and your profit centers are totally different than anything else that you can imagine in the way of normal business. Identifying those 5 profit centers and now being able to work and put a budget to the profit centers, and we've just cut our overhead in many ways with global leaving. Tomorrow is the last day for the last individual from Global who had stayed on, the events manager. We are now down to just 2 people in the office. But as hockey closes out, one of the things we have is the ups and downs, sort of like a sine curve. We have the peak for an event, be it hockey, be it anything else. Then we fall off. What we're doing now is coordinating to see how we can cut the labor back a little bit. One of the problems we face is you have to have a cold environment when you have the ice down. Many years ago, things that were put in place to keep the cold in the areas were removed. Doors, there's no curtains, things that we would normally do to do that. But that is all part of the program that I'm approaching to upgrade the building and make it into something different, that we can afford to cut back a little bit on the maintenance and the upkeep, so that we can have the cool environment when we have the ice when it's necessary. We're also addressing the issue of power and energy. That is one of our biggest bills, approximately $250,000 a year. We're approaching that from looking at replacing the lights that are overhead and putting in LEDs. As you may know, we just put in LED lights for Glen Street. That was one of my projects, and the cost of the LEDs is 1/50th, and they last for thousands of hours, and we can control them better. And that would be one way of reducing the energy costs. We're also exploring other options, looking at geotherm, solar, whatever we can do, and I have to work with National Grid to make sure that they have the networks available to accept what may be overage if we do go to one of these situations. But that's in the long term. Right now, I had to prepare for Global leaving on Tuesday. That's their last day. And everything is running smoothly there. We're ready for everything. And the people that are there, we have nobody leaving. So we have some people that have been there for 30 years, 20 years. There's a great local connection, family-wise, to people that work at the concessions and people that are working in operations, and they've been doing it since the building's been built. So I have a very optimistic view as a businessman that what we can do with this is turn it around. Some of the local people that I've spoken to, or I plan on speaking to, is one thing we're looking for is summer ice. I'm checking the cost now because it was done for a short period of time, but I've also contacted the youth hockey and the local men's teams that are here, And we know that, there aren't many facilities in the area that have summer ice. And we know that it's a requirement and can be done very successfully once we have everything contained, because it takes greater energy to keep summer ice. So we're working on that. We contacted, through somebody that we're dealing with, Americade, because they eventually, when they come up, they have some issues with weather. And I'm trying to work something out where we can partner together. I met with, Mike from Lake George Chamber Center, the chamber the other day, and, Mike Consuelo, he's in Ottawa right now, but due back. We're looking to tag team off each other so that we might possibly have a bike show at the same time to relieve some of the congestion that's going on in Lake George, and present an inside event, and if the weather gets bad, to provide them access to the Civic Center so we can again, bring some other income in during the summer, which is the slowest time. I recently contacted, excuse me, Dennis LaFontaine just opened up Martha's. And I spoke to him the other day while I was there in a different capacity for the bank. And, he said to me, could I possibly sell Martha's as a concession? Because he's now in the manufacturing of ice cream business. And I said, absolutely. So we're going to look at that, bringing more local people into the environment, because it's a vibrant environment, and it's got so much space, and it's got so many opportunities, and that's what we're currently exploring from my side of it. So I've done a little bit of sales and marketing. I met with Kim Levy from Queensberry Hotel. She gets events sometimes that are too big for her, and we get events also, so she's going to recommend those events or send them over to us to see if we can accommodate them, which will be another income stream. And in turn, she's helping herself and we're helping her, because she's filling her rooms at the same time. So it's been a really good experience. Like I said, it's taken me a little while. The last 2 weeks have been hectic. But I've caught up to where we have to be so that there'll be a seamless transition on Wednesday. And that's what I've been working towards.
Any questions for Jack? Thanks, Jack. Yes, Lisa.
May I have the committee's approval to have Jack sign this voucher for the first payment so that we can get the money to them?
What's the voucher for?
It's for the first quarter.
Okay. Okay, second. All in favor?
Ben,
Go ahead.
can I sign for this?
Yes, you can.
Where do I sign?
Yes.
I just would like to say that, that was an excellent report, and it, particularly given the, some of the situations that have developed that were unforeseen, and, I'm very, very pleased to see the, Civic Center, corporate committee members here today. And I think that
It is still March, right?
this is the kind of information that I think that we need to have going forward. I think the community needs to have going forward. Some of this is very exciting, especially linking up with local businesses and manufacturers, and who knows where that's going to lead, and and developing additional revenue streams. All of that, I think, is very interesting and exciting.
And if I may just add one thing, the other thing we're doing is trying to work with lots of local organizations in terms of having them do their functions and shows at the Civic Center. And for example, we're working with LARAC on that, and we're working with a couple of other organizations. So the idea is to network the entire, arts, business, and cultural stuff into the Civic Center, not just athletics and concerts.
Mike Swan, I skipped right over you, so, give your report.
Just one more thing, we're hoping also to utilize the services of Christina Curley, who is, is a real asset, and we'll be meeting with her hopefully sometime this week or next week, and, talk to her about, conventions. She travels around to provide information for us as to possible events that we might be able to host from a countrywide, perspective, if you will.
Go ahead, Mike.
Basically, real quick here, our income, our collections, I should say, are up 2.32%, from this point, from December 31st of 14 to December 31st of 15. That figure will change a little bit because we still haven't got all of the last quarter and part of the first quarter in yet. So I'm anticipating that that'll be a little better. I apologize that this report is not what we had talked about before. We've just run into some problems in my office. I promise you next month we will have a little bit better report for you so that you understand more where everything is at since we've changed the whole accounting system and everything.
Okay. Any questions for Mike?
Mr. Chairman, just, would mention for the record that, Chairman Merlino and Chairman Ken and I, met with the county treasurer to go over the, change in the financial report and, the kinds of things that we thought needed to be in there, not the least of which is, to put it on an annualized basis as our programming is now, and to also, to have it, deliver, from a management point of view, the kinds of information that we're going to have going forward, particularly our balances in our various accounts, including our fund balance.
Any other business come before the committee? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Dennis, seconded by Matt. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Carried.
Good job.
That's what I'm